our new person that we're super intrigued by
Person
online,
of interest.
which I'm sure everyone else has been seeing everywhere. Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
We got to talk about this man. It's we're all seeing it. We're all wondering what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't had an opportunity to not see him like almost every day for the last 2 weeks. It's taken over. But he's not just getting everyone's attention. He's getting the attention of, I would say pretty big celebrities.
Yeah, massive. He's been on very, I guess, high profile podcasts recently. Aiden Ross.
Yep.
He did that thing with Dave Portnoy.
Yes, that's correct.
Which was weird for me to see, considering that I kind of saw him at first as like a super underground dude, right? And now he's doing, a podcast with these, I guess, very mainstream type of dudes.
I didn't think we were going to get to see this guy actually like answer anyone for a long time.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, interview after interview.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to talk to this dude.
For sure, man.
And I think everyone's gone into their interviews super unprepared.
Oh, yeah.
No research done, just diving in. Oh, I see you everywhere. Tell me what you're about. And then he really does do that. Now, if you don't know who Andrew and his brother Tristan is, I called you Tate before, but
yeah,
sorry about that. So his brother Tristan, so these two guys, they live in Romania, and they got tons of guns and girls and drugs. No, they don't do drugs, do they?
No drugs.
Everything but drugs, but it fits in nicely there with that combo.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've blown up recently, and it's mostly for their controversial opinions, mostly towards women, because they've made a lot of their money, I know, from OnlyFans related type of media.
That's right.
And management.
Yep.
Totally fine with that. But yeah.
Female empowerment. You know?
Yeah. Anyway, so they've been called sexist. I think they very much over exaggerate a lot of what they say.
Yeah, I feel like they probably are like how they say, except they just blow it to 100%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say they probably believe the things that they say.
Yeah. Crackhead energy. Yeah.
Yeah. And they just, because they're, fit and just constantly working out, they're just hyped up and masculine all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of our read on them.
But that's let's get into, I don't want to talk too much about them. If you want to know more about them, just Google anything, they'll come up. You don't even have to Google anything related to them.
we were saying before, we were trying to look for some clips, and it was like the first time where I did not have to search. The person that I wanted to see, they just came up straight away. So yeah. If it's worth a watch, it's be one of the more interesting things you've seen on the internet.
You wouldn't have seen anything like it because it's been made very clear that this kind of content is not allowed on social media. But I don't really know anyone that's in charge, so I think you can do whatever you want on there.
Yeah.
So the interview that did interest us is the one he had with a really high IQ person, I think personally, Dave Portnoy.
Yes.
He's a smart guy.
Yes.
He's very smart, in fact.
Yeah, and I want to say something on that. Why I was so interested in the Dave Portnoy interview was because I've always seen like Andrew on, just talking to some normal people,
Aiden Ross is a pretty good example. Like,
right.
There's no like discussion going on.
There's no challenge for Andrew. Nobody can challenge him because he is clearly a smart dude, right?
Yeah,
and
he's smart. Yeah.
Well justified in his thinking, right? He's able to justify everything that he says, no matter how controversial it is. But to see him go up against somebody like Dave Portnoy, who clearly is also a smart dude, was super interesting to me. But anyway, what did you think of the interview?
I feel Dave Portnoy didn't really care too much, and I would love to see a version 2 when he's done a bit more research.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think it was a good discussion, but I think Dave Portnoy lost, even though there was 4v1.
Yeah.
He
did.
literally sniped each one of them that were there.
He did.
Josh Richards, who was the other host, I think almost contributed nothing, and then there were 2 women on the show that actively disagreed with almost everything he said.
Yeah, and got grilled, both of them. They just got
and
dismantled.
then there's smart guy, Dave Portnoy, who just, I think from Dave's perspective, he was just kind of saying what people think.
Yeah.
He refused to involve the words I or me.
Yes,
He didn't want to give his own opinion.
Yeah.
But, you know,
very smart of him, media trained dude.
the guy works in media. He built his life off media, you know? So I think he understands when agreeing with Andrew Tate on a podcast can be very, very difficult for your career if you haven't previously disclosed that's what you think.
Yes.
You know?
But Andrew...
It's a bit late for Portnoy to come out going, you know.
Andrew really cornered him at one point of this interview.
Yeah.
And I wanted to know what you thought about this. So Andrew said basically, Dave asked him, okay, so what is the definition of, we're going to need to bleep this, fuck you money? What is, like, how much money do you need? And Andrew said, well, actually, it takes more than money to have that outlook on life, that freedom. You can't just have money. You need other things. You need to not be dependent on the system in order to be able to say whatever you want, do whatever you want. You need other things. You need to be separated from the mainstream media. You need to have your own income. You need to be able to fight. You need to be able to protect yourself, all this other stuff.
Ideally separated from the government as well.
Yeah, separate from government.
Yeah.
And
you only need... This is a point that I found quite important. You only need government if you aren't self-sustaining. Do you know what I mean? Like if you can do everything yourself, then you don't need necessarily a governing body to be doing anything.
True.
You know, that's that concept. But anyway.
Yes. But the point I'm making is that like I really wanted Dave to actually answer that question because his money is dependent on what he says.
Yeah.
Right? He can't go out and just agree with Andrew Tate. Even if he doesn't agree with him, he can't agree with him.
Yeah.
You know?
That's 100% right. And one of the examples that he used where he's saying, you know, why do you need multiple passports? Are you a criminal or something? You know, blah, blah. And then Josh Richards brings up the example of the Californian, is it the governor?
Oh, yeah. Who went to some party.
So they shut down his party.
Yeah.
Josh is like, oh, like, you know, the Californian governor or whatever is, you know, he's gone. He locked down California and then left. And they try to use it as an example of like that's like why you wouldn't need it or something. I don't know quite the example they were trying to make, but they butchered it is the point.
They did.
And he goes, that's my exact point. Yes. He locked down the state that he's meant to be governing over.
Yes.
And then went to another state where those rules don't apply so that he can personally enjoy the fruits.
Well, the example was basically, hey, what they were trying to say is if you're high enough, like if you're a government official, you can be above the law. And Andrew's point was, well, look, what if I don't want to partake in that system and have to push this agenda forward you know, fold all my morals and just to be on the inner circle of people who can be above the law. Yeah. I'd rather just do it in a different way where I can just do whatever the hell I want and have 10 passports and all of this other stuff and have connections that will allow me to get by.
He's essentially saying to have your money, you've got to have... It's not just about the money. It's about... if you want to be able to say you to everyone, his point was it can't just be money. It's got to be, you know, you've got to have this in place and security or whatever. All the things that you need in order to completely self-sustain or, you know, self-manage or...
Yes. Self-govern.
Exactly. Self-govern. No need from outside the outside world, which is his point, I guess. And I no one really rebutted. No one really... I feel like everyone was just reiterating the same points. So that was the main discussion. Well, that was one of the discussions. The other one was the main discussion was him being sexist, which is what everyone tries to pin them down for.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, today they would be sexist.
In today's day, that is sexist. 40 years ago, maybe not so much. And I think that probably a lot of...
No, definitely not 40 years ago. Definitely not.
Definitely not. That was normal. And I think that a lot of girls even today hear the stuff that he's saying, look, if I'm with a woman, I'm looking after her. I still, you know, if I'm doing everything for her, I expect her to make me coffee on demand.
Well, he said himself, I'm the most conservative man in the world. He said that. Which a lot of it is trolling. But he said he's the most conservative and he says he's a traditional man.
He also says he's a trillionaire.
He says, why would a traditional man not want, like, traditional woman? Like, you know, if you want, you know, marriage and this and that, and these are all traditional things, his point is, and a lot of people's point on this is, that you should be a traditional woman, which includes certain things that you do not want to do today.
Yeah.
You know, so...
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that point.
I can agree with a lot of his points. His delivery obviously needs some work.
I think his delivery is what's made him famous,
Yeah,
man.
100%.
It's like
No, of course. No, the delivery. That's the point. That's why. Yeah.
if you're trying to become, well known around the internet, his delivery's spot on. It's top notch.
He's done a good job.
Yeah.
But people. I'm saying people's reaction is usually to his delivery. How can this man come down pointing at us? That's like.
Yeah.
That's the response, and I mean you can assume who's against this,
And so
and who's agreeing just not to get into a fight.
Yeah. And so I think that the big point we want to make about Andrew Tate is agree with him or disagree with him. You and I are both happy that there is somebody on the other side,
Fucking
on the
A.
total other side, that's actually challenging heaps of the stuff that we're being told today.
Exactly.
And I'm super glad he exists because,
Here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So, the challenge that was originally occurred
Yeah.
is from, the left non-conservative side, because the world was more traditional and more conservative.
Yeah.
In most countries in the world.
Yeah.
Until recently, when America's media has just changed completely, really,
Yeah.
I think. And so if you're having such major change happen with cancel culture and feminism or any of these changes that weren't a thing before, that only happened because those people were like, we don't agree, we want to challenge it.
That's right.
So that doesn't mean you can now shut up everyone else out there that still agrees with the old shit.
That's right.
They get to still challenge you. That's always going to be a thing.
Of course.
There's not going to be a world where every man is a feminist because
No.
that's not. I had this conversation with someone the other day.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, like one day the feminist movement will, and I'm like, I don't think so.
I don't think that's
I don't think there's ever going to be a point where every man on earth will agree that feminism is like.
There'll never be a day on the planet where every single person agrees with this one thing.
Yeah, no, that's
About anything.
That's what.
Yeah.
You got to be able to argue.
Yeah.
You got to be able to say, look, I understand your reasonings for needing change, but there's also a lot of reason to not change.
Yeah.
Like, the people before us did figure some shit out.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say, boomers, fuck you, like, done with that. New world order, and then just only say this is acceptable to say. I think everything should be acceptable to say.
Of course.
Because that's the only way we can figure out, that human thinks like that.
Yes.
Okay, that must mean something.
Yes.
You can't just say he's a psychopath, narcissist, and sexist.
Well, here's the thing. We were getting pretty close to a time where you couldn't actually say heaps of the stuff that Andrew Tate is saying.
Until we got saved by Mr. Tate.
Yeah. I don't want to give him too much credit here.
No,
He's already
no.
the top G.
I mean, he is already the top G.
So,
You're a geek! Loser!
all of you, brokies.
Wages.